Guys, I'm not really sure if we're on here. We'll be checking and making sure. But I am Rob Spencer. I am joined in studio by Eric Haynes. This is the Paul Harrell program minus Paul Harrell. As you can tell, Paul is not with us today, so we are just kind of making do with what we can here. So I'm checking to see. Yes, we are online here. So missed the intro, all of that stuff. But anyway. We're going to do the best that we can do with minus Paul. Eric, thank you for joining us in studio today.
Happy to be part of the conversation.
Yes,
Doing
man.
great.
You always have that great one-liner there that just says, hey, happy to be a part of the conversation, my friends. So anyway, all right, so we're going to do the best that we can do. All right, so we obviously have to address the elephant in the room here, Eric, and that is... Let me make sure that Paul Harrell program is this audio. The music is not still playing. Hopefully it's not, but I don't know. Anyway, so there was a vote on the floor today for the Epstein files, and be with me. Give me just a second here. All right, so there was a vote, and there was one lone dissenter there, Eric, and just curious what your thoughts are on the lone dissenter. We're going to go over his statement. We're going to pull that up in just a second here. You can kind of see it on you'll see it on your screen. But overall thoughts on just this Epstein file, the release, this, will they do this, will they won't? I mean, Trump just really railing against this for so long, and now, the reversal of, hey, everybody should vote for this. Overall, what are your thoughts here, Eric?
My initial thought was that this gets back to, or I guess I'm hoping that Representative Higgins' comment and his vote has everything to do with the same concerns that Bondi and Kash Patel had about innocent families, witnesses, those who would be implicated and named as contributing to this information, and those folks that are completely innocent. They provided alibis, they're family members of victims, and they don't want their names out there.
Right.
And so I'm hoping that his statement, which has everything to do with if the Senate can provide some clarity as to the identities being and protecting those victims and innocent folks, then if it comes back to the House for final approval, he'll absolutely vote on that. So I just hope that I don't consider this as dissent.
For the love of God, I really pray that they are at least redacting these victims' names. Now, I will say a little bit sort of jaded-wise, I saw an interview with an alleged victim here, and she was interviewing with Chris Cuomo, and Chris Cuomo just said, hey, when are these names going to be released? Like, we all want to know, right? We all want to know is if you're a pedophile and you are a member of the House, if you are a member of, really wherever, any sort of arm of government, if you are a celebrity, if you are anybody, if you are a pedophile, we as a society want to know. Why? Because we don't want to associate with you. And let's just say you're an actor. We sure as heck don't want to go to your movies. We don't want to support you. You should, if you are the kind of person who is going to this island and sleeping with 13-year-old girls, and let's just call it's not sleeping with, that's raping. That's rape.
Sure.
If you're that kind of person, then we want to know, right? Okay. Now, say all that to say that I was watching this interview with Chris Cuomo, and he said, hey, when are these names going to be released? And she said, hey, we want these names to be released. We have provided all of the individuals. We've provided their names. We want these names to be released. And Chris Cuomo said, why don't you start naming them right now? Right? And it wasn't like that. It wasn't as deadpan as that. But I'm trying to say that she just said, this shouldn't be on us to release these names. Which makes sense, except why wouldn't you release that? Why would you not start naming names? And she said, for our safety.
Fear, yeah.
Yeah, for fear, for our safety and all of that. And so I get that. That. But I don't know how many of those Epstein victims can commit suicide before people are like, okay, these people are not committing suicide. And we don't believe that the first one did either, if we're a cynic on this stuff. So my whole point of it is, you start to wonder, are they waiting on something? Yeah. And my thought is either you're waiting on something bigger, or are you waiting on a financial settlement from these individuals? I don't think that's the case. I hope that's not the case. But guess what? Every comment underneath that, virtually every comment was, she sounds like a person who's waiting on another paycheck.
Good.
And that's not what we want, right? That's not what we're trying to get to. So my whole point of this is, the longer that this list becomes, stays a secret, conspiracy theories are abound. Are they not?
Absolutely.
Right? And so what do you think ultimately should happen in terms of the release of these people? Do you believe that it should be, you remember, been 12 years ago, maybe more, where the Ashley Madison, database was hacked. And if you're not familiar or watching this, Ashley Madison is it still a thing? I don't even know if it's a thing anymore.
I have no idea.
But it was this thing where you could go on there and anonymously commit an affair. Like if you were a married person and all of that stuff, you could go on Ashley Madison. Well, someone hacked into Ashley Madison and released all of the names for it. So what did you do, right? If you got that list, you start searching for all of the people that you may or may not know. Like you start searching names. And of course, wives are searching for their husbands, and husbands are searching for their wives on there to make sure, are they on there? And so we saw this with Ashley Madison. Should it be like that? Should this be this huge long list here? Or should it be like, I don't know. Should it... I'm just trying to figure out how the logistics of this should be done. And maybe a list doesn't exist.
Consenting adults on some Ashley Madison website. Like, I know a lot of marriages and a lot of relationships busted up because of that. But I put the Epstein list in a whole different category because we're talking about predators. And I'm just going to, as a father of young daughters, these people are predators. And I do want all of that exposed because I want the truth exposed, and I want transparency in government, or I want transparency in general in life. And I want for these predators, who I put in the same category as those that ICE is putting up on their website as the predators that they're finding, and sex traffickers and child rapists here in America as they're doing their investigations and their deportations. I put those people in the same category as highfalutin, rich, wealthy folks who got on private planes and went over to the Epstein Island. I don't put any additional stock or credibility with those people than I do those sick individuals that crossed our borders illegally and came over here and committed crimes against our kids here. So I hope everything comes out. I just, I have my doubts about how this will all shake out. And again, getting back to Representative Higgins' point, if holding off on that is to just protect the innocent Americans that contributed to alibis and the family members and witnesses, fine. If there's something else going on, then that makes a sick situation that much sicker.
To your point, let's go ahead and go through what Representative Higgins from Louisiana, Republican, the lone dissenter of this 400 and whatever the count is.
427.
27 to 1. We'll go ahead and read through his statement he has posted to X.
Yeah, this is good in fairness to him.
Yeah. I have been a principled no on this bill from the beginning. What was wrong with the bill 3 months ago is still wrong today. it abandons 250 years of criminal justice procedures in America. As written, this bill reveals and injures thousands of innocent people, witnesses, people who provided alibis, family members, etc. If enacted in its current form, this type of broad reveal of criminal investigative files released to a rabid media will absolutely result in the innocent people being hurt. Not by my vote. The Oversight Committee is conducting a thorough investigation that has already released well over 60,000 pages of documents from the Epstein case. That effort will continue in a manner that provides all due protections for innocent people. If the Senate amends the bill to I stumbled over that. Let me go back because this is important.
Yeah.
If the Senate amends the bill to properly address the privacy of the victims and other Americans who are named but not criminally implicated, then I will vote for the bill when it comes back to the House. So essentially, what he is saying is if the Senate will look at this and figure out a way to protect not only the victims, but people who are named that did nothing wrong, right? People like Jeffrey Epstein was a billionaire businessman. He had connections all over the globally.
Yeah.
He had a lot of connections globally.
Absolutely.
And so these individuals may have just been dealing with the businessman of Jeffrey Epstein rather than the sicko. Okay? And so should they receive the same punishment? Absolutely not. We all know that as a rational society should know. Should. One of the things that he said in there to a rabid media, he addressed the elephant in the room there, and that is we are in a polarized society right now where we are all looking for gotchas. Mm-hmm. Gotchas of whatever I can do to get the other side. And right now, both sides are licking their chops here and saying, Republicans are saying, hey, our president is never went to that island. He is not the billionaire best friend of Jeffrey Epstein that he is being painted, right? To be. And in fact, there was a Democrat congresswoman texting with Jeffrey Epstein while the Senate, while the House Judiciary, whatever committee that was on there, when those hearings were happening, she was texting, and there was a live text, and I'm like, wasn't he arrested at that point? Like, how did he have, how did he even have his phone there? I don't know how that works, but long story short, she was being fed questions, and she's a Democrat. Okay, that's the Republican side. The Democrat side is there's a reason Trump doesn't want all this released. He was friends. Look at all this pictures, all of this stuff. You are absolutely just as much of a pedophile as Jeffrey Epstein. And this is our 47, right? President 47. This is our Russiagate. Okay. This is what it is. 45, it was Russia. 47, it is Epstein. We know that that's what their goal is because what else have they got other than the economy, which is what we're going to get to here. So, excuse me. My whole point of it is you can sit here and villainize Clay Higgins, okay, but what he's saying, does it have merit?
I think it does. And I also believe that if this information, to your point just a minute ago about President Trump, I think if that were a valid point, then I think it would have come out in the last administration. We didn't hear anything about this over those 4 years, and or certainly not to this degree as it relates to transparently releasing the information contained in all of these documents. They've been around for a long time, and if there was a smoking gun that was going to connect Donald Trump to these victims, it would have come out in the Biden administration or during the campaign leading up to the 2024 election.
When they were literally throwing everything but the kitchen sink, and then I think that I'm pretty sure they threw the kitchen sink at him as well. When they were, Donald Trump talked about it during his one of his campaign speeches. He's like, well, it's a beautiful state, but I fly across America, and every time I fly over a state, I'm indicted, right?
Right.
And that's what was happening, Eric. And I think that we realize as a society, and certainly as a conservative believer, like you and I both aligned with, and so does Paul, with the conservative side, that they're willing to do anything that they can to take the man down, and they hate him with such a passion, and unfortunately, that is the nature of what we're dealing with as a society. So, I saw somebody, I can't remember who posted it on X, but it was very maybe it was Matt Walsh or somebody like that. Like, shut up, Dims. You don't care about the victims.
Right.
You don't care about the victims. All you care about is getting Trump. And what does that say about you? Mm-hmm. You know? And so I think that we have got to put it through that filter. Now, I'm sick and tired of the Epstein will they, won't they, in terms of will Pam Bondi release this? Will Pam Bondi do what she says she was going to do? This big reveal. I forget her name, Wheeler. I think Wheeler's her last name, and she used to be on Newsmax. Now she's part of Glenn Beck's thing there with the Blaze. She's a great follow, but what's her first name? She's a blonde-haired girl. Her first name escapes me, but she was on Megyn Kelly's podcast, and she was talking about she was one of the influencers that was brought into the White House, and they were given the Epstein binder, Volume 1, whatever, this big. It was a big circus and all of that stuff, and they walked out with these Epstein binders, Volume 1, to the legacy media sitting out there in the gaggle that were waiting, that weren't invited to the party. Right? It was a big FU to the legacy media, and here we're going to give this to your Benny Johnsons of the world, your
Matt Fournier.
All of these independent conservative journalists, podcasters, influencers, whatever you want to call it today. It was a nod to them, and they gave them this. But what did it end up being, Eric? It was a big nothing burger. And they had egg on their face. Mm-hmm. So I'm tired of the whole Pam Bondi, will she release Volume 2? We're still waiting on Volume 2. It never came out, right? And now the House has voted to say it's not just Volume 2, it's Volume all, right, that we're going to release. What are your thoughts on that?
Let's see what happens in the Senate. That's just the way things go in government. House passes a bill, has to go to the Senate for its signing and its vote, and then it comes back to the House for final approval. And I'm anxious to see how this goes. I'm a wait and see person as it relates to so many things that are hot topic news items, and I'm patiently waiting here. I feel like I've been very patient up until now, and I'm going to be a little bit more patient and just watch this play out now that the right things are and the right people are in power.
Absolutely, I'm with you on that. Let's change gears just a little bit and let's talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, you and I, we've got folks. If you're just watching this, Eric, Paul, and I have this individual group text where we go back and forth with just general topics, things we're like, hey, we're going to discuss this on the today's show, or even if we're not going to discuss it on the show, it's just general conversations about that. And we have a diverse feeling, Paul, Eric, and I, Eric's got some different feelings about Marjorie Taylor Greene, but I will say this, like, she has had an evolution here because, just a few years ago, she was nominating, or whenever this whole Kevin McCarthy debacle was happening, she was nominating Donald Trump to be Speaker of the House. Now, it was merely a ceremonial nomination. We all understand that. I'm sorry, I'm still on you. We're watching Eric.
I'm nodding.
Eric was just nodding along there.
I smell what you're cooking.
Yeah. So it's supposed to be over here. It's supposed to be over here on this one. But anyway, so we're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, who many saw as just sort of this far right lunatic, who just was a conservative, but she was just a little too far with it, and I saw tons of that. Well, what has happened over her last, few months, from my perspective only, is that she's not that she's gone to the center, but she's gone to the side of, okay, wait a minute. Why aren't we releasing this? And she wanted to read into the congressional record the name of every person that the victims have named, right? She wanted to read all of that, which there could be positives and negatives with that, Eric. But ultimately, Marjorie Taylor Greene became the whipping boy, for lack of a better way to put it, with Donald Trump over this, and so much so that he released a lengthy statement calling her wacky, right? Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene looks pretty good today, with this vote. What do you think?
I do not believe that Marjorie Taylor Greene is a right-wing lunatic. I certainly don't agree with that. I'll say that I think she's pretty light on policy and heavy on theatrics and outrage, from what I've seen of her over the last, since her coming to the Congress. Here's what frustrates me about what this distraction becomes. It becomes an opportunity for mass media and especially Democratic talking heads to start putting out statements like this, or for the chyrons and for all of the articles to be written stating this. Marjorie Taylor Greene says Trump's handling of Jeffrey Epstein files is destructive to the MAGA movement. Marjorie Taylor Greene just wrecked the cult of Trump. Epstein battle has ripped MAGA apart, Marjorie Taylor Greene says. Marjorie Taylor Greene takes sharp jab at Trump after public fallout. Opinion: the first glimpse of post-Trump MAGA has arrived, and her name is Marjorie. That's the problem for me, is that this is a distraction from the mandate that we voted Trump in on. It's not that I'm against Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's just that this now becomes a major distraction that the Democratic media and those talking heads and those pundits and those influencers will now pounce on and spin to make it worse and worse and worse, and distract from all of the good things that are happening in this first year of Trump 2.0. And that's why it's a major frustrating thing for me to see this stuff come out. And it's not that I don't believe that she has a point. It's not that I disrespect her and her standing for her principles, because she is a principled individual, obviously. However, this is a major distraction, and we all voted for Trump. Marjorie Taylor Greene is not my representative. She's in Georgia, and I don't like that voice is distracting from the MAGA agenda, and that the Democrats are now using this as a wedge and some sort of a distraction that now President Trump is going to have to answer at every press gaggle, and every time he puts something out, it's going to get monstrosized by the media. It's just a distraction.
Yeah, it's absolutely a distraction. And so what we're seeing here is the fracturing of MAGA, in that you've got people who are coming out, Benny Johnson and others. Benny Johnson is a powerful voice in the conservative movement, and he's a powerful independent voice, right? And we understand that means something, because that means, so again, I listen to Megyn Kelly a lot. I would love it if the Paul Harrell program got picked up by Megyn Kelly's network. That would be fantastic, but you may be a little bit of a pipe dream, but we'll see what happens. But anyway, ultimately, Megyn Kelly, I like how she is the voice of reason sometimes when everybody says, look over here, look over here, look over here, look over here. And she's like, I don't really like this, But she described the difference in Fox News and NBC, okay? And when she was at Fox News, she's like, I wrote my own show. I was able to, the Kelly Report, I think it was what it's called. Like, she wrote her own show. She decided what she would say and all of that stuff. But then when she went to NBC, which was like a huge mistake for her career, admittedly, she admits that she said it was written for us.
Right.
The producers, all of this stuff was writing this show for us. And so she's like, you might be upset at an anchor, on NBC, ABC, CBS. Hopefully CBS gets a little bit of sanity, with the new director, whatever her official title is, But anyway, when you look at certainly ABC and NBC, and there's like, well, I'm frustrated at the anchors. I'm frustrated because they said this or said that, or the reporters said this or said that, and you're like, no, they didn't. They may have spoken the words.
Yeah, right.
So what does that mean? That means that these independent media voices, like the Benny Johnsons of the world, the Megyn Kellys of the world, the Matt Walshes, even the Ben Shapiros, the Tucker Carlsons, all of these people become that much more influential. And we're seeing that. We're seeing how much influence they have over certainly the conservative movement, so much so that we see people like when there's a fraction between Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson, who are two of the biggest names. If you were listing top 5 conservatives, certainly top 10,
totally.
You would put these two individuals on there, and they're at odds. Mm-hmm. Like, would they fight if they saw each other in person? Kind of thing. I'd put my money on Tucker. He's a little bit bigger guy, kind of thing in that respect. But regardless, we're seeing this fraction. Well, to your point, this crap with Marjorie Taylor Greene is feeding even further into that.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of like how a narcissist in an argument will say, yeah, but okay, we got 5 things that we're going to discuss here. Okay. I'm guilty on 4 of them, but on this 5th one, you don't have the facts exactly correct, right? You don't have the facts exactly correct on this one. Mm-hmm. So what do your haters do? Your haters hone in on that one. They don't care about the 4 things that were completely correct, that Joe Biden was the freaking child sniffer here, and we're trying to make Donald Trump out to be the pedophile here. Like, Joe Biden's on camera.
Right.
Let me ask you a question here. If his mind was sound, you letting Joe Biden babysit your children? I'm going to let that one sit in there just a little bit while I stare at the camera. You gonna let Joe Biden babysit your grandkids? Anyway, so we're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene dared to speak out against Trump. And she did it several times. So she dared to speak out against him. In that, I disagree with how he's handling it. Well, guess freaking what? Many of us conservatives were disagreeing with how he's handled this Epstein stuff. And so she speaks out against it. And since she's in the House, she's actually a congresswoman that, Donald Trump finally just said, okay, well, she's a powerful movement in the conservative. She's a powerful voice in the conservative movement. And I've got to address this. And so what does he do? Rather than, I disagree with Marjorie about this, there are other things at play here, whatever. She's crazy. She's lost her way. She's wacky. And I'm like, I text in our group, and I'm like, I'm so sick of this crap.
Yeah.
I'm sick of this crap. Run the freaking country and quit just attacking people who disagree with you. People who agree with you on 99% of stuff. They agree with you on 99% of the stuff. And you attack them because they disagree with you on this one thing. Name a vote. Name a vote of any bill, any legislation, anything that is about to go before Donald Trump in his first term and certainly in his second term that Marjorie Taylor Greene hasn't said yes. Okay. Did she go off the rails on some things? Should she have picked up the phone and called him? Was she grandstanding? Yeah, probably. Definitely should have picked up the phone and called him because she's got his direct line. But quit calling her out and calling her all of these names and just totally trashing her and saying you're going to primary her and all that stuff. No, she's a great voice of conservatives. Whether you agree or disagree with her, she is conservative through and through. Okay? Now, that is my perspective. Eric, I'm going to toss that one to you.
This is just the lack of impulse control of President Trump.
Yeah.
And I've grown to respect it at times, be frustrated at it at times.
It's funny sometimes.
Just laugh at it. You're exactly right. Words out of my mouth. Just laugh at it sometimes. because I know he's doing it out of sometimes frustration, out of pride, out of anger, out of whatever comes to his head at the time, because he's always working. He's always doing things, and so he's always engaged. And when someone gets out of line, he calls it out. Whether he calls it out the way I think he should as president of the United States, it's baked into the cake for me at this point that a lot of the things that he says in speeches and on his social media platform or Truth Social are not how I would have worded things.
Sure.
And I wouldn't have put things in all caps all the time like he does. My wife, that's a writer and editor, I'm sure she gets absolutely annoyed by those posts. But
oh gosh, I can't imagine what your wife thinks about. Certainly the grammar and the what do you want to call it, the quotes that make like.
Yeah.
Really? Why is it all caps and why is it being quoted? I don't know.
I'm always trying to just center myself back to the points that inflation is down, our border is secure, we have probably the most talented cabinet officials and secretaries that I've ever seen in my life, that I think the affordability crisis is going to be addressed. And I'm sorry for saying this, but I just don't have time for Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene drama. So I see it, I recognize it, and then I look the other way or I move on to something else.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to belittle what's going on and what the Democrats are going to pounce on as it relates to her. I just don't like the fact that there's a distraction. I'm not saying she's wrong in standing for her principles, but it's just frustrating for me.
Yeah, it's frustrating for me as well, and trying to get this to a line here, so it may not work, but I'll read it. It's not working on the screen. Paul is just so good at getting this stuff to work, but I'll go ahead and put this on the screen here and just read this live to you. Now, this was his second follow up to it. All right. Wacky Marjorie Trader Brown, remember green turns to brown when there's rot involved, is working overtime to try to portray herself as a victim when, in actuality, she is the cause of all of her own problems. The fact is, nobody cares about this traitor to our country.
Sorry. Yep.
I mean, the President of the United States, folks. Somebody just happened to disagree with him about the release of the Epstein files. And guess what? 427 people of the 428 in the House disagreed with him as well. Now, he changed course. I would like to know what that I would really like to know what that vote would have been, Eric, if excuse me, if you would have had, maybe the media went after him really hard, and I think that's what changed his mind. He was.
Yeah, he responds. I mean, that's absolutely a fact. He responds to things like that really get amped up in the media and get a voice, and he brings them up, and he eventually comes around and talks about them. And he realizes that he should never have called it a hoax, and he made some missteps as he, again, is not the wordsmith that we sometimes wish that he was in the moment. But that's what we love about him, is that he has spent more time talking and communicating in this first 10 months or so of his administration than we heard from President Biden in 4 years.
Sure.
So a lot of the things are not going to set perfectly with everyone.
Yeah.
And some of the things that he says definitely cause me to scratch my head a little bit and be like, dude, can you just take it down a notch?
Mm-hmm.
Focus on the economy. Focus on what's important. Focus on the things that brought you to Trump 2.0 and why we were certainly not going to put Kamala Harris in office for 4 years.
Well, somebody would say, oh, gosh, Republicans are, AOC came out and said, hey, I'm getting calls all the time from conservatives who regret their vote. And I'm like, no, you're not. You might. As much as I disagree with this, and I've got a statement that I'm going to read. I probably won't read all of it because it's really long, but this is him going after, or this was him saying that the release of these Epstein files, which led to today's votes, which is what we're talking about. But anyway, he'll go after all of these individuals, and it frustrates me and ticks me off, and I'll even tell my wife sometimes. I'll just be like, oh my gosh, wish he would just shut up. Shut up and run the country. Now, I'm not saying be inaccessible like Biden was, right? Like, I love the Oval Office gaggles, the Air Force One gaggles, the press conferences that he has. Like, I wish he would, when he gets a free moment, go out and do another rally and talk about all this stuff. I love that stuff because that's off the cuff Trump that we like. Mm-hmm. But when he feels cornered like a cat, and he feels like he's got to come out swinging, we see the worst in him. We see the best in him sometimes whenever he is unjustly being attacked by the left, but we see the worst in him when he is rightfully being criticized by his own party. That's when I think that we see the worst of him. When I really wish he would come out and say something to the effect of, you know what? I disagree with Marjorie. I disagree with her wholeheartedly, and I'm frustrated. I feel a little bit betrayed that she said the stuff that she said. I feel like maybe she's using this as some sort of campaign hype up or whatever her goal is. But you know what I'm going to do as soon as we get done with this? I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to call Marjorie, because Marjorie and I agree on a lot of stuff. And I'm disappointed in this, and I want to hear her perspective of it. That's the deal maker, Trump. That's the deal maker. Now, he's not capable, in my opinion, of that sort of eloquence with humility / I'm going to get a dig in here / I'm going to go make the deal. He doesn't show that, or at least he doesn't use the words that I want him to use to show that. But I can say this. If he would do that rather than attacking, calling her wacky, calling her that her last name's now Brown because it's full of rot. Green turns to brown when it's full of rot. Like, come on, Trump. Like, is anybody reading this crap before you pumped it out here? Because you're attacking a strong conservative. Whether you disagree or agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene, she has a name. Had you heard of the Republican who voted against, so much so that I don't even remember his name, and we talked about him on the show already? Do you remember the Republican House of Representatives who voted? He was the lone vote. I don't remember his name. And
we had to look it up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Clay Higgins, but I didn't know that until today.
We're talking about him 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Right? And I can't. You remembered his name. I couldn't remember his name. And we were talking about it 10 minutes ago. But my whole point of it is, Marjorie Taylor Greene, we know who she is, right? We knew who Matt Gaetz was, when he was in office. We know some of these people who are going on Fox News, who are influential, who can drive the narrative here versus just this random person who is a member of House, one of the 428 that nobody even knows their name. But anyway, my whole point of it is, a Marjorie Taylor Greene is an antithesis to an AOC, and I don't think that the conservatives should eat their own.
Here's the deal. You're looking at this through the lens of a conservative Christian father, business person in this community who has respectful conversations all day, every day with people in this community. You want to have to manage your reputation and your credibility with them. You care about people and you love everyone around you. That's not President Trump.
Yeah.
So stop looking at it through the lens of, I want him to be more like me, or I want him to say the things like my dad would say. That was the frustrating thing about Trump's first administration, and this goes all the way back to like Rosie O'Donnell, and it's just like I think of my dad with as presidential. Trump is not that. He's the exact opposite of what we've had forever.
Yeah.
But democracy has gone downhill up until him, because it's been this perpetual motion of a swamp. and Trump has come in as the hammer in search of a nail. And I'm not saying that's fair, but it just is what it is.
He can't be bought, and that's part of the frustration that the swamp has with him is that he is susceptible. Now, the people around him can be bought, and the people around him are influential because if you've ever read any of his business books, and I have, he talks about, I'm a great believer in getting opinions from everyone. Mm-hmm. I want to get opinions from everyone because if I get your opinion and your opinion and your opinion, and then all of a sudden I start to kind of formulate what actually needs to happen. Yeah. Well, that's what good leaders do. Honestly, if a leader comes in and just spews it and says, "Hey, this is the way it's going to be," and anybody that dissents from this is wrong, then that's not a good leader. So he has shown those qualities. But when he gets criticized even the slightest bit is where I get frustrated. I get you're a cat that's backed into a corner.
Yeah.
And although you're not handling it the way that I want you to handle it, I don't think you're handling it the correct way either.
Sure.
I'm
glad you said the word leader because he is the leader that we don't necessarily deserve, but we're blessed to have. And I don't say that because he's particularly eloquent and wordsmith about the way he handles conflict. Mm-hmm. But I'm saying that everything else baked into the cake makes me forgiving of him saying things that I don't necessarily agree with. And I would never say to anyone in public or to any, in some cases, I wouldn't talk to my enemies like he talks to people that should be his friends.
I do agree with you on that. And, we'll see how this shakes out. This could be. I would love it, honestly, Eric. I would love it if Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald Trump had some sort of public appearance where it was sort of a what do you want to call it, like a bury the hatchet.
That's what I'd be looking for right now. Is the same thing he had with Elon Musk.
Yep.
I would look to see that take place again here, and for them to reconnect.
So much healing can happen with that. I also think. How awesome would it be if Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro co-hosted the Charlie Kirk Show one day? Now both of them have they've hosted that show since his death.
Right.
But and maybe it doesn't have to be on that. Maybe it's just a reciprocal thing. I'm going to go on Tucker one day. I'm going to go on Ben Shapiro one day. Or maybe it's one of those things where it's like a joint. Like, hey, this is the Ben Shapiro day and this is the Tucker Carlson day, because I think that although I do not agree with Tucker on everything, matter of fact, I disagree with Tucker more than I disagree with Trump. I disagree with Ben Shapiro more than I disagree with Trump. I believe that Ben Shapiro goes so hard in his pro-Israel thing that you can't see that people are fallible.
Our perspective as conservatives need to be balanced, and I appreciate you saying that because hopefully for us and the audience here, you cannot align yourself with one voice as it relates to this current climate, and you can't just be, I'm 100% all in for Tucker 100% or Candace Owens 100% or Ben Shapiro 100% or Megyn Kelly for 100%, because they're all going to say things that may or may not seem objectively correct or may not align with your values. And so you have to be able to disseminate what you align with, but as a balanced approach to conservatism, they're all heroes as it relates to the movement for conservative values, whether they disagree about Israel or they disagree with how this was handled or the conspiracy theories surrounding Charlie Kirk's assassination or whatever the case may be, or 9/11.
Sure.
As Tucker Carlson's newest documentaries. Take things for as a balanced approach to all of them. I think we'll be a lot better off and a lot more sane too.
Well, I'll tell you this, things did not add up with 9/11. I do agree with some things, like there's some weirdness there, and it's like, okay, I don't, I don't understand it all. But to say that George W. Bush, was in on it, to say that that's just a bridge too far for me in that, unless maybe I'm a fool, Eric. I don't know.
No, you're not. I don't think you are. But I will say that you can go down a rabbit hole of everything that has pretty much ever happened or happened over the last number of years where conspiracies have jumped up. And, it's almost like getting back to Sherlock Holmes's facts to support opinions, or facts to support theories, not theories to support facts.
Yeah.
And you can go down, this connection, these dots, and you have to be very, very careful because you'll miss out on all the good things that are happening. If everything is a conspiracy theory and everything is wrong and the government killed everybody, then you'll never be able to level yourself out and look at the fact that, wow, things are getting so much better, and gas prices are down, and energy costs are down, and inflation is down, and thousands and thousands, hopefully millions, of illegal immigrants and predators that were poured into our country are getting the Sam Hill out.
Yeah,
and
we're seeing right now too that in addition to all of the positives that are happening, we still have another calendar year of the Republicans being in charge of all three chambers here, right? And or not all three sections here is the House, the Senate, and the presidency. So they can accomplish a lot.
Yeah.
If they do not eat themselves.
Sure.
And so I think that, going back to what we were really saying, Marjorie Taylor Greene, having some sort of, I think Thomas Massey goes a little off sometimes on some stuff. I do not agree. I disagree with him more than I disagree with a lot of people. But I can say this, he's a conservative and he's a good member of Congress. And I don't think that he should be primaried. Excuse me, because I think that we need to let the Dems eat themselves over here. Let me go over here. The Dems need to eat themselves over here on the left, continue to push out these moderates, put their progressive candidates in there, because I think that the United States citizenry, the citizens of the U.S. are further to the middle than one would have us believe. We're left on some things, we're right on some things, whatever. But that progressive wing that's so far left over there, let them eat themselves. Let them keep doing what they did in New York City with Mamdani, whatever his name is. Mamdani. Yeah.
Mamdani.
Dude, former rapper there, Mamdani. What? Okay, I'm not gonna try.
I think there's an N.
I'm not gonna say it again. Mamdani. I'm not doing it again, Eric. Don't get me to say it again. Don't get me to say it again.
Is it Pan?
Pam? Are you saying Pam?
I think I can help you out with the Pan thing.
Slide in.
Hello, Miss Lady.
Hello, Miss Lady. Step Brothers. Great movie. Did you know there was a sequel to that they never filmed?
No.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they didn't. Because I think it needed to be left to what it is. And the mom, Will Ferrell's mom, she's from Arkansas.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep.
Okay.
So
look, to your point, let the Democrats eat their own on issues like men and women's bathrooms and all those NGOs that Doge exposed coming out, and let them fight those DEI battles and BLM battles. Let them eat their own as it relates to that, and let's just focus on all the things that are going on good for the economy, and we will. The conservative Republicans will maintain control in 2026. This is there we go right there. That's it. I mean, that in a nutshell, this affordability is what is the name of the game for this next year and a half.
Yeah. And that's what we want to talk about over the last, little bit here. If I can get our screen to go correctly here, it may not work. We just missed Paul today, but anyway, so we're talking about, as they call them, kitchen table issues,
Yeah.
Eric. We're talking about kitchen table issues, and that is who is better to lead the United States out of this high inflation, high cost. Things are exploding way too fast, for wages, for, in AI. I mean, look, you want to talk about, like, if the wages are exploding to a point where a company cannot exist without just looking at, let's have these kiosks at McDonald's, let's figure out other ways to replace this human with a machine, with some sort of AI. If we can't fix, what am I trying to say? If we can't fix the United States economy so that it's not so obvious that that's what needs to happen, like AI and robots and all of that stuff need to save us. If we can't fix that economy, then we're going to get there way faster than what we actually think we will. And this economy is not working for, I hate to say this because it's like a Democrat talking point, this economy is not working for all people. It's not. There are some people that are there are people, my real estate mentor talks about the market, whatever it is always good for somebody. Even if we've got foreclosures in real estate, that's good for somebody. That's good for investors who are going in and buying up all these properties. And so anyway, my whole point of it is right now, we have not addressed the elephant in the room. That's the third time I've used that analogy here, the elephant in the room.
So many elephants.
There's so many elephants in the room. We've not addressed the elephant in this room. And the elephant in this room is that $100 at the grocery store does not go. No. I mean, what are you going to get? 5 items?
Yeah.
It depends on what you get, but you're not getting much for $100 these days. And my thing is, if we can't solve that, then the Republicans, they've got 1 year to do this. It's going to be a bloodbath in that midterm.
Yeah, absolutely. Affordability is the name of the game, and you saw that on the Mamdani campaign. Now, the problem is that Democrats' socialist answers to the affordability problem is socialist policies about giving everything away for free. So when Kamala Harris brought up affordability issues during her campaign, she was kind of laughed at because it's like, well, you've been in power for 4 years and everything's gotten worse. Anytime anybody objectively asked her a question about that, she was word saladed.
Yeah.
And
what could she say?
What could she say? I mean, you're the VP for the last 4 years.
Yep.
And individually, I really, really started noticing it coming out of the COVID era and really feeling that inflation pinch in 2022 and 2023. And it, like you said, $100 at the grocery store went nowhere.
Yeah.
Restaurant costs, gasoline costs, energy costs, all those things were just going up and up and up. And for most Americans, our income was not meeting. There wasn't wage increases that met that increase in cost of living.
Yeah.
So we all felt the pain. And then when Kamala Harris started talking about affordability, she was just laughed at because this has all happened when you guys were here. Everything was fine when Trump left, other than we were dealing with this crazy COVID crisis that we went through all together. But my goodness, it's just, we have to be able to have a concise message around affordability. And President Trump was like, pinned to the wall about egg prices in his first week of office, and he makes, it's kind of a running joke now because he's like, you guys were badgering me about egg prices when I barely walked in here.
How can I fix it?
And so I don't expect for all of the answers around affordability to be accomplished already right now. But if the Democrats switch their messaging to affordability and things don't improve to a pretty good degree here. Now, I'm already seeing fuel prices go down, energy costs go down. as you're seeing in the real estate market. We need for those percentages to come down and others. So there's going to be some really important things, and the Republicans and conservatives have to pounce on that and show data that life is better and more affordable now than it ever would have been under a Kamala Harris administration.
And we're already seeing that message is exactly what is going with voters in New York. The dude came in promising all of this stuff that he can't even do.
No.
He can't even he can't raise these taxes. He has to have approval. He cannot give free buses and not free grocery stores, but government-owned grocery stores. He cannot do all of this stuff. And Cuomo was trying to say that.
Yeah.
Like, far be it for me to ever agree with Andrew Cuomo, but, dude was right. Like, hey, this guy is in here. He's a snake oil salesman. He is selling you a bill of goods, folks. He is selling you a bill of goods that will not work. And then we saw it in Virginia. Thank you. I was thinking about the Virginia governor's race.
Sure.
Right. So Glenn Youngkin, extremely popular conservative, and Winsome Sears was the lieutenant governor. Okay, so what is she? We talked about this off air. She's a minority, right? She's black. She is an immigrant, and unless I'm confused about it, she's also a woman. Okay, she is the very definition of what the Dems say they want to push, right? Immigrant, black, woman. My goodness, you couldn't have central casting couldn't have been better, except she didn't have a D next to her name. She had an R. So what did that do for her? She lost to a governor who was potential governor, now governor-elect, who was coming in talking about affordability.
That's right. She
was screaming affordability. We've got to get prices down. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. We've got to do this. And so you're spot on here, Eric. If the Republicans cannot fix that, now, number one, it's about the messaging, right? What they're going to do. But number two, you got a whole year to address affordability. And if this economy is booming, if prices are coming down, if we see just so much positive momentum in this economy leading into midterms, I don't think it'll be a blue wave. But right now, my money, if I was taking bets in Vegas, as unpopular as the Dems are, they are so unpopular. My money is on the Democratic Party to take over at least the House in 2026. I don't know what will happen in the Senate. I've not looked closely at those races. What are your thoughts?
I think this is what frustrates Trump so much, is that he's working so hard. And we've talked about this, but just how tirelessly he works from a 24-hour day in a matter of a 24-hour day. And I think he gets so frustrated at distractions like the Marjorie Taylor Greene incident and the Epstein files. I think for him, he's like, God, I'm spending so much time focusing on the important things, dinner table issues, that these are for. So I just hope that the message balances out, that the right people will come together and level set again on what really is important.
Folks, that is all the time we have for today. We thank you for joining us. Sorry for any sort of technical glitches. I mean, we did the best we could today without our wingman here. Paul,
this was fun.
Paul was so good. Paul is so good at all of this stuff. So anyway, thank you for joining us for the Paul Harrell program. We will see you tomorrow. I didn't do the outro. Didn't even